You're listening to Zap Night's Zap Chats, a monthly video game discussion. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Zap Chats. I'm your host, Danny.
I'm your co-host, Kaylee.
Yay. Kaylee's actually here today.
I'm physically here.
Physically here. She's been here before, but, COVID and crap. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to just pick up, a Skype call than it is to have you come here. But, it does make things a little bit... It sounds a little bit better on my end, but also it's nice to just hang out, so there's that.
Yeah.
So today we are going to be talking about our 4 years of Zap Night. We started Zap Night in July of 2016. And we're going to be kind of talking about that a little bit, maybe sharing some memories of the first couple episodes. But first off, Kaylee, what have you been playing?
Pokemon Pearl.
Whoa.
Pearl. And Animal Crossing.
Crossing still. I do have plans of reviewing Animal Crossing, and I think that will probably be our next podcast episode, because I feel like we're not going to be able to beat Diamond and Pearl before the end of July. So, we'll see. We'll see exactly where we're at. If, between the two of us, if we can crunch it the last couple weeks of July, then maybe we'll go ahead and review it. But if not, we have Animal Crossing that we probably should do anyway. Mainly because it's still hot and people want to hear about it. But, one or the other. It's either going to be Animal Crossing or it's going to be Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. I've also been playing Diamond. I've been playing quite a bit of it. I'd say I'm like 10, 12 hours in. Though a lot of that has just been level grinding because this game has been really slow.
You and me are roughly in the same spot, so we're 2 badges in, and it's already been like over 10 hours.
Right, and that's why I'm thinking maybe this is going to need to be a 2-monther. But again, we'll see. Otherwise, I've also been playing some Horizon Zero Dawn. I picked that back up. It's fun to just hang out on Twitch and play something. And Lori really likes to watch me play Horizon Zero Dawn, so it works out both ways. And I've been playing that on ultra hard, so it legit is really difficult. Though I'm playing New Game Plus, so I'm kind of cheating, but it's also really hard. It keeps it interesting, that's for sure. So that's been a lot of fun. So if you guys are interested, you can catch me playing Horizon Zero Dawn and or Pokemon Diamond over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/ZapNightGaming. Maybe it's just that. I think it's just Zap Night. But then everything gets archived over on our Zap Night Plays YouTube channel, and that's just, you got to do a search for Zap Night Plays to find that. Also, all of our podcast episodes, all of our thrift shop game stuff is on our main YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/ZapNightGaming. So, yeah, there's our plugs.
Yay!
Also, follow us on social media if you feel like it. I post I post a lot of our game collection over on Instagram, and we port that over to Facebook as well. So if that sounds like fun, you can check that out. Also, this month, because it's our 4-year anniversary or birthday, I don't know how you want to say that, we've been posting all of the pictures of all of the games that we've played so far, which has been 66 games.
That's 66
games as of July 1st. So last podcast episode was Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. Had a lot of fun doing that with our good friend Jinx. And then our next episode will be either Animal Crossing or Pokemon. So what do you want to start off with, Kaylee? You want to talk about early episodes of Zap Night?
We can.
I kind of was thinking maybe we'll talk about our entire history so far. So as you guys know, if you've been following us for a while, we made this plan to play a game all the way through from beginning to end and then sit and talk about it. And this started with me because I had a ton of video games. And back then it was a lot less than what I have now, but I had quite a few, and I would start games and then just never finish them. And I really, really, really wanted to have a reason to finish these games. So I got with Kaylee and I said, hey, do you want to make a podcast where we basically play a video game once a month and we sit down and we talk about it? And I mean, you've been doing it this long, so you must have enjoyed it somewhat.
Yes. I remember you talking about it, and then I remember you telling me, I've already ordered the microphones, so you kind of have to commit at this point.
I think it was because I had talked about it with you a few times, and you were like, you seemed on board, but nothing was concrete. And I'm like, I'm just going to make the plunge. I'm going to buy the stuff. And like, by buying microphones, I think they're like $20 microphones. They're nothing super fancy. I'm still using those microphones, by the way. And it was just, I needed to commit. I really wanted to do this, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. There's so many like weird things on creating a podcast that if you're coming from an outside point of view, you have no idea how it's built. You don't know how YouTube handles audio files. Like, there's a lot of stuff you have to learn to get the ball rolling. But, it was part of the fun. Like, for me, coming from an IT background, it was a lot of fun to just get this up and running and figuring it out and making it work, really.
This is your baby.
It is. Yeah, it totally is my baby. So, yeah, our first podcast episode was Art Tanelico, Melodies of Alemia.
Alemia.
A lemon?
A lemon.
Sorry, go ahead.
This was the first one I wanted you to play this game for a while, and it was a good opportunity. So, and it was nice you had been building up everything, and it was my first contribution.
Yeah.
Lame contribution.
No, it was perfect. I did try and stream that, and it didn't go so well because I had garbage capture card, and I still have all the videos on our YouTube, on our Zap Night Plays channel, so if you want to watch that, you can. It's not great. The audio quality on that first podcast episode is not great. Again, going back to that learning curve, like, we experimented with using 2 mics, and then there was this, like, huge echo, and then we experimented with using 1 mic, and then it was like you could hear me very well, but you couldn't hear you hardly at all, Kaylee. And then we went to, like, I don't know, I did so many things trying to figure this out until I finally bought, like, an official audio mixer, and now everything sounds a lot better. Still not amazing. I mean, it could be better, but it sounds a lot better than it used to. Anyway, Art Tanelico was our first episode. Then we played Spyro the Dragon for the PlayStation 1, and then we played Donkey Kong Country. And, like, those were the 3. Like, growing up for us, Spyro and Donkey Kong Country was, like, huge.
We were really excited to actually play it together. I think that was a big, like, draw too, is reliving those together, kind of.
Well,
a good reason to play them again.
Yeah, exactly. Spyro we played separately and then we talked about it, but Donkey Kong Country we actually sat down and played together.
This was the original Spyro. This was before the remake even was announced, I think.
Yeah, we didn't know that there was a remake. I mean, this was, again, August of 2016, like, there wasn't even a PS4, I don't think. No, maybe there was. Maybe there was. Oh, man. But then episode 4 was Kingsglaive. So yeah, I suppose the PS4 was out. And we had actually gone to Kingsglaive
a few times.
We watched the movie. Kingsglaive is a Final Fantasy 15 movie that they released back before Final Fantasy 15 was actually released. And it played here in the theaters for a very small amount of time. And we went to go see it a couple times. And then we sat down and talked about it. And I need to watch it again. But I still really liked that movie.
I did too.
Like, it got really bad reviews, but I really enjoyed it. But then, finally, episode 5 was Final Fantasy 1.
Broke me early. destroyed my spirit. I remember not wanting to play a game after that.
Final Fantasy 1 was rough. It was a rough game.
I'm really glad that wasn't our first game.
Agreed.
I think that would have been made it really hard for me to be like, I don't know.
And I kind of wanted it to be our first game because that was the goal, was that, like, when we first started talking about doing the podcast, we wanted to play all the Final Fantasy games, and we're still in the process of that.
Right.
We've made it to Final Fantasy 7, but we started with Final Fantasy 1 on episode 5, and I kind of was like, well, I wanted to start with a Final Fantasy game, but like I didn't, because I didn't know if we were going to stick to it. I didn't know what we were doing.
I think it's important too because we weren't strictly going to play Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
And so maybe it really established we're playing all these different games, but also we're striving to go one chronologically, roughly, for Final Fantasy.
With the Final Fantasy series. Well, and I think that we even talked about that in our intro episode where we introduced ourselves and I laid out this plan of how I wanted to do the podcast episodes, which is completely different now. But back then I wanted to do like an RPG and then 2 non-RPGs and then Final Fantasy and then 2 more, or was it? I don't remember exactly how it was. It was something like that.
It was 4 years ago, gosh.
It was like an RPG, a non-RPG, Final Fantasy, a non-RPG, an RPG that wasn't Final Fantasy, and then Final Fantasy. I don't know, whatever. Now it's just like we just make it up as we go. Whatever we feel like playing, whatever we feel like playing, whoever, wants to be on, if they're part of our circle of friends, we let them on, and we, I try.
You've got a good, whatever you're feeling, we're having fun. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to play games that I haven't played before. That was another big aspect of starting the series, was that, or this podcast, was to get me to play games that I would otherwise never play. I would have never played Resident Evil. Never. And I freaking loved that game.
Until I had started Zap Night, I could not remember the last time I'd actually beaten a game. Like, to the end. Mm-hmm. Like, I would play games and abandon them halfway through.
That's how I was.
And yeah, I had no... I mean, it was nice to play, but then it was like, I got it out of my system and that was it. My poor memory cards.
Yeah.
All those unfinished games.
That's how I was too. And, like... before I started the podcast, I went through and played all of the Final Fantasy games that were released up to that point, all the way through to the end. And I enjoyed that concept, and there were games that I had never beat before. And, going back, some of these games, like even Donkey Kong Country, like we would get to the very end and we may have beaten it when we were kids, maybe, but we would usually we would get to the end and it would get too hard and we would just stop and we'd start over again. And it is really nice to finally beat some of these games that we've been sitting on for years and we really enjoyed as kids, and finally get a chance to finish them. And also play games that we haven't played before. What was your favorite podcast episode? If you think of a podcast episode, is there any of them that jumped to you as like, ooh, this one was really fun?
Fun? I have a pleasant memory of doing like Cool Spot, like the ones that we sat down and played together.
Yeah, I think so too.
Those are pretty special.
Yeah, I think so too.
Not
Claymates.
Oh man,
that was like a terrible game, but like experiencing that with you was a lot of fun.
Claymates, Cool Spot, Donkey Kong Country. I had fun with Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah,
that
me
one
too.
was pretty fun.
Yeah, me too.
I have a terrible experience with Final Fantasy 15. I bring it up from time to time. I got really sick that night when we recorded.
Right, because you were pregnant when we recorded that one.
In fact, I don't think I had been that sick before. That day, I was really sick. Cool Spot, though, holds another special memory because that night I went home and had my baby.
Right, yep. Which is funny. Zap Night and Kaylee's child.
Well, when you had told me about Zap Night, you wanted to start it before we knew it was Zap Night.
Right.
I hadn't told you yet, but I was pregnant. And I think that's why I was kind of nervous to agree. I wasn't quite ready, and I was trying to decide, because I wanted to, I really did. And so I think like shortly after that I had told you, because I remember being pregnant and kind of sick at Kingsglaive, and I don't think I had told you by then.
Huh.
Maybe I had. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, some of those games that we've played together were really, really good. There's a few games that I kind of would like to... I would kind of like to replay live on Twitch just because they were a lot of fun. The biggest problem that I have with playing games that aren't for the podcast, though, is that I only really have enough time in
You're
a month.
You're wasting precious time.
I really only have enough time.
I could be playing a game for the podcast.
Exactly. I only really have enough time to play the one game a month to do for a podcast episode, and that's it. Like, that's the only time I have to play video games. And, I'm making the most of it. I'm playing them as much as I can. I'm streaming them, so that you guys can hang out and chit chat with me along the way. But, I don't have any time to play anything else. So it feels weird to me to, like, I'm replaying, Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm only putting 3-4 hours in, maybe a whole week,
right. If then.
But it still is fun, and it's like I do want to, like Donkey Kong Country. I would love to play this game again, and I would love to stream it and have me and you both doing it, and it would be a good time.
Yeah.
But like, it's hard to justify playing anything that isn't for the podcast because we could totally utilize that time for a different game, But, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So something else that I would like to do that I think would be fun. Oh, you know what? First, before we do that, before I finish that thought, I did want to talk about our top scored games. Top 5 scored games specifically. So at number 5, at the lowest is Final Fantasy VII Remake. That got a 92. And I mean, I understand it still got a 92 is a really good score. Like, there's only 10 games that got over, or that got 90 or over. So really, it still did really good. It just wasn't quite as good as it could be. And then for 4th and 3rd place, there's a tie for Horizon Zero Dawn and Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. And I completely agree. Like, both of those games are really, really good. I think Horizon is better than Link's Awakening, but like, in different ways. Like, Link's Awakening is a beautiful, beautiful game, and the gameplay is really fun, but like, Horizon Zero Dawn is like so close to being the best. Just, it had some flaws that, could have been better. So, I mean, you get what you get. And then tying for 1st and 2nd place is Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage for some reason.
That must be the remake. It has to be the remake.
Yeah, I think it was the remake, and I think it was the first time that we saw this version of it, so we gave it a much higher score.
Well, we tried our best not to count the first one, but I think like the both combined is probably it was the remake of Spyro.
Yeah, I think so
that
too.
Tied, which is that I understand. Yes, I agree that I can understand why that tied with first.
So, and then Final Fantasy VII, which
The original,
goes without saying. I mean, this is the PlayStation 1 version. So, I mean, obviously, it was a really good game. I think it would have gotten probably even a higher score had it not been super easy or had better graphics, but it is what it is. I mean, it was a great game, and I mean, to tie with number 1 is okay. We'll see what Final Fantasy IX holds for Kaylee.
I already scored it.
You've already scored it.
Aww. Do you remember our first recording our first podcast? Do you remember being nervous in front of the microphone?
I do. I remember when we recorded our intro, I believe we did that one twice or more. And that was really like the learning curve of how to record and kind of getting used to talking over the microphone. The very first episode, Arch Nellico, I'm pretty sure we did that one twice too.
I think we did Kingsglaive 3 times.
Well, Kingsglaive was a problem because not only were we butchering the storyline, I think we butchered the storyline, but then we also had a data corruption when we tried to export it and lost a bunch of audio. So like we had to completely redo it, which was good because the next time we recorded it sounded better.
It was a lot better.
So I mean that was a good thing. It just that was a rough one.
I think our worst recorded was Final Fantasy V.
Worst.
We butchered that story.
The story.
We forgot people died. We just butchered. Well, it was a good game. I don't know why we butchered it so bad.
The good thing is, I think it depends on how well we write down the story. Because if I do the story...
I think we need to, like, sit down and, like, talk about the story before we go live.
And we usually do. We usually do anymore. But... for Final Fantasy VII, I knew Final Fantasy VII really well. So, like, it was easy for me to write down bullet points. But as the games get more advanced and more, like, story-heavy, it's hard to tell the story and not completely tell the story. So, like, the Final Fantasy VII story is, like, an hour long that I sat and talked about just the story itself. But, like, it's tough for me to explain the story and not leave out important things. So, like, to try and dumb down the story is simple. Like, this guy goes and does some stuff and saves the world. But, like, you don't want to be that simplistic about it, So, it's a struggle, like, from our end when we're making these games, when we're making these episodes, it's a struggle with how much information to give you for the story. I mean, you've got some games like Donkey Kong Country where the story is just like this blip, and that's it. And then you continue on, and the podcast episode's only like, 45 minutes. Where then you have Final Fantasy VII, where you talk about the entire story, and the podcast episode's almost 3 hours. So, that's I think from my point of view that is our biggest struggle, is deciding how to retell these stories to where it's an interesting podcast episode but also makes some sense and isn't too dumbed down.
So is that your least, if you had to choose, what's your least favorite part of the podcast? Is it having to sit down and write the story?
Yeah, it really is. The story part is my least favorite. And it's mainly because if I don't ask you to do the story, I usually am just doing it myself. Like, especially if I'm doing it with my friends, I tend to do the story and just ask them to help me along the way. Because most of the time, like Brandon, he knows so much more about Metal Gear Solid than I do. So he really escorted me in the story. But, like, for the most part, I try really hard to just do the story myself. I have to do all this research for the story.
You definitely do a better job telling the story. Because, like, when I tell the story, it's like you're picking up the pieces that I have forgotten, like, that might be more important to the story. And I'm more focused on telling it and getting to the end.
Yeah, I'm that way too. But I think that's what makes it fun when we do these episodes together. Because we can sit down and kind of feed off of each other. And, like, we have no problems with interrupting each other, and I think that's a big difference between...
You walk all over me all the time. Just always interrupt. I'm just joking.
I think that's a big difference with doing podcast episodes with my friends, because I'm a little more... I'm a little more respecting of letting them talk.
Respectful.
I am. I don't just straight up interrupt them like I do you.
Well, one of the other reasons why we started doing this too is we would get together. Like, we would go out to eat or something, and it would just be you and me talking
about video games.
Final Fantasy and all this stuff, and, like, memories, and our spouses would be like, so.
I can't speak for them, but I feel like that's gotten better. I think maybe with you having a kid too, because you have
with more topics to talk about.
Yeah. But I mean, that's been a problem.
There would be days where we would be talking about, like, oh man, did you get to that part yet? And be like, no, we gotta save it.
Yeah,
but man, you need to know this now.
Yeah, because we don't want to sit and have conversations about the next game that we're going to be playing.
You want to save it for. You want to keep your first reactions to like. we can tell each other what we want to say, but like you might not say it quite the same on the podcast.
Well, and it doesn't feel genuine if you
Yeah.
have to repeat it
Exactly.
again. Like, if I tell you, oh my gosh, this boss was crazy, and I go into and explaining you about it, and then we sit down at the recording of the episode, and I'm retelling the story about the boss fight, it doesn't seem
Right.
very genuine. Where when I'm telling you the first time about a specific thing, and, you know, it's the first time that
Yeah.
we're talking about that, you have more of a genuine reaction to it. So, I mean, yeah. Let's talk about our our worst scored games.
Was it Final Fantasy 1? Oh, he almost made it.
Almost. Final Fantasy 1 is number 6 at 55.5. There's 2 games that got a 0.5 scoring, and that's Final Fantasy 1 was one of them, and Donkey Kong Country was the other one. 80.5. And both of those are early. We don't do the point anything anymore, really. Not that we couldn't, because basically whatever score you feel like giving it is what we give it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a 0.5, good. If it's a 0.8, I mean, that's silly, but okay.
Well, Final Fantasy 1, those points. How bad was it? It needed a
all
point.
the help. It needed all the help it could get.
I can't believe some of these. I can't believe I'm seeing the list right now, and I can't believe that they were worse than Final Fantasy 1.
So our top 5 worst games, we're going to start at number 5 is Mortal Kombat. I believe this was Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Yes. And it got a score of 55, and I totally agree. I totally agree. Number 4 is Final Fantasy 3 at 53 points. Which is really sad, but I kind of also agree.
You hated that game. I remember you not liking that
The
at
problem
all.
that I had with Final Fantasy III, not only was the chibi graphics silly, but I really felt like it was Final Fantasy I's continuation. And I still feel that way. Like, if you play Final Fantasy 1 all the way through, and then you pick up Final Fantasy 3, you'll definitely have that, like... This seems like it's Final Fantasy 1 Part 2, you know?
No wonder we didn't like it.
And yeah, I just didn't like, the story didn't jive with me, what little story they had, and yeah, I remember that one pretty well. Claymates, we already talked about Claymates. That got a 53. That's number 3 on our top terrible.
We should really, you were talking about wanting to replay some of these. We should replay, well, maybe not Final Fantasy 1, but like Claymates, that would be a good one to
replay.
To redo it.
It's sad because as a kid, I really loved Claymates, and I still do. Like, the graphic design choices that they had were amazing, but the levels were terrible and difficult and just
we finally
placed.
beat it. We were so happy we finally beat it.
Yeah, we were.
We did have to like mini cheat. Well, it wasn't cheating because you had the codes you could enter at certain spots to like level jump.
Yeah.
But
I think that we did end up
thank goodness.
I think we did end up cheating or something with that one because we got to or no, we inserted cheat codes to be able to never die or to never lose lives. Like, we had infinite lives or something like that, so that we didn't ever have to start back all over again. But as soon as we did that, we made it to the last level, and then we ended up not needing the infinite lives thing because there was no checkpoints or something like that. You'd have to listen to the episode to know for sure, but it was something like that. So then at number 2 of the worst games is Final Fantasy 2.
Which I don't think is right. I think Final Fantasy 2 and 3 should be swapped. I don't think Final Fantasy 2 was that bad.
I don't either, and I'm not really sure why it got such a bad score. I'd have to listen to the podcast episode again. But that was, we gave it 52 points.
Wow.
52. That's sad. And then our number 1 worst game is Donald Duck Going Quackers. And I don't know, like... I guess it was kind of a bad game. Maybe I have better feelings about it just because it was one of those where we played together. But I don't know.
I seem to remember it getting progressively worse as we played.
Yeah, and I think that most games are kind of like that. Like the first couple levels, one, they're easier, so then it's like you kind of get into the game and you're getting into the feel for it. But two, the early stages of the game is what...
Well, they want to make it the best.
Yeah, because that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
And even like a game developer studio, if you're going to give a game to an investor, they're going to play maybe the first 10 minutes of the game and probably not a lot more. So if the first 10 minutes of your game is going to be amazing and look the best that they can possibly be, not only are you getting your customers hooked, but your investors are like, yeah, I'm on board for this. So I don't know. In any case, Donald Duck did the worst at 49 out of 100. Yeah, that was the worst. But I mean, everything else has been pretty good. Now, that said, we've played a lot of really good games that I know are going to get good scores because they're good games. So, I mean, from that perspective, I would like to try and play games that, one, I haven't ever played before, and two, might be a little more obscure. That way, they're getting a score that is... It's not hyped up from anything previous. It's like a genuine score. There is no nostalgia behind it. There is no,
bias.
Yeah, well, and there's also no media influence too. So,
Yeah.
But it's tough because there's games like The Last of Us. I really want to play The Last of Us. I already know it's going to be a great game because everyone says it's a great game, but it doesn't matter because I want to play it. And if I'm going to play it, I may as well review it. So and that's kind of that's how I've been playing games lately. If I'm gonna play it, I may as well review it. So, all right. So next up, I wanted to play a couple bloopers that I've saved. Bloopers, I really just mean that they're silly things that we've done or said. A lot of these are Kaylee.
Oh no!
One of them is Evan, because if you guys remember in 2019, Seth and Evan were on the show with us, and they were doing episodes on the 15th. And so there's I think just one blooper of Evan in there where he saw a spider. But otherwise, oh no, that was with me. It says Half-Life on there. I don't remember, but a lot of these there's not going to be a lot of association with them. It's just I clipped the little bit that I thought was funny from that episode. Yeah, I guess I'll play him. So, okay, so this one is from episode 37, which is Doom. So this must be from Seth and Evan. But we'll go ahead and listen to it and see what I've saved here.
Did it look? What did it look?
It sounded like an auctioneer. Do it again.
Yeah. I think he was struggling with what he was trying to say, and his words were just like getting jumbled up. We'll go again here.
Did it look? What did it look?
Oh my gosh, he sounds like an auctioneer.
I think I sent this one to him too, and I think he had a good laugh on it.
That's funny.
I think it's even funnier on repeat. Like,
What did it look?
I would like that as my text message.
And legit,
tone.
like, I clipped that straight from, I think I cut it out of the original, but like, I clipped that's how he said that. Like, I don't even know how he made that noise.
He didn't even fix it, correct himself. He just went with it.
Yep.
That's bravo.
All right, so this next one is episode 30, which is Donald Duck going quackers.
No.
So this is one of us. I don't know.
But you don't really pick up on it.
I think I'm saying Donald okay. Did you hear it okay?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm going to play it again.
But you don't really pick up on it.
I think I'm saying Donald okay.
Yeah, there's probably going to be mostly those.
Yeah. I think you have something you want to say, and then like your brain just like stops.
Keep going.
All right, this next one is Final Fantasy 3. Over 10 years old. This game is 8 years old now. So I mean, So yeah.
Good math.
So yeah, this one isn't so much me jumbling over my words as much as it is I'm an idiot.
Play it again.
Play it again.
Play it again for the people.
So let's break it down here. Over 10 years old. This game is 8 years old now. So I mean,
Over
I think
10 years old.
I was saying that this game is well over 10 years old. It's 8 years old now. Like, Danny, are you an idiot?
Oh, that's funny.
Oh man. Okay, so this next one is from our Half-Life 1 podcast episode. And while we were recording, there was a spider that was like coming down in front of Evan, and Evan is petrified of spiders. So this is a clip from that. There we go.
What? Oh god. See, now you know why I hated the Gonar so much. It's just this little like, I couldn't. It didn't have 8 legs. It didn't have 8 eyes, but the fear was there.
Sorry. Yeah, I think if you listen real carefully, I'm like, Evan, there's a spider next to you, or something like that.
What? Oh god. See, now you know why I hated the Gonar so much. It's just this little.
Yeah,
I was hoping for a scream.
I kind of was too. I couldn't remember what I clipped. I just remembered
funny,
clipping
though.
it. So this one I have no reference to. It's just Kaylee XD.
You know, you sent me, I think that might be this one. You sent me this one day. I have no idea what it is. I don't remember, but I remember you sent it to me in like twice.
Just a cool looking game.
I don't even know. I want to pinpoint one thing, but I mean, it's just so much of it is.
The only downside I gave it.
Nailed it.
I think
It's just so much.
I think that one,
so much.
you were trying to say something, but you never actually said it.
Couldn't make it.
It just didn't make any sense.
My brain synapses were just like they didn't quite connect.
I feel like we've gotten a lot better as far as saying just like random stuff, but
I have a personal problem with while I'm talking of remembering what I'm talking about. It's like I have something in my mind. I'm like, oh, I've got to tell you this, but I'm so excited to tell you this that I forget the thing that I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah,
so then it comes out like that, and then I'm trying to play it off like I'm all cool, except it's not. It just comes out a mess.
You want to hear it again?
Yes.
Just a cool looking game.
I don't even know. I want to pinpoint one thing, but I mean, it's just so much of it is.
The only downside I gave it.
It's just so much.
Oh man. All right.
Last one.
Last one. This one's from episode 32. And
Overcooked.
32 is Overcooked 2, which I believe was me and Lori. So I don't know if this one is a Lori one or if this is me. Probably me. Let's see. Keep cooking. I was trying. I don't know what I was trying to say. Keep cooking.
Is that you?
I think it was me and Lori. I think we were
It
both
doesn't
saying.
even sound like you.
I think we were trying to say like, just keep cooking.
Say it again.
Okay, one more time. Keep cooking.
I just
man.
kept seeing you guys playing it just over and over. Keep cooking.
Just keep cooking. Just keep cooking. Oh man. So that was fun. So 4 years, Kaylee.
Yay!
You gonna be happy to do this again for another year at least?
Yeah. You know, we went into this not knowing what to expect, learning brand new. You know, you're just more focused on the learning and what you're doing and playing the games. You stop to realize how much time has passed.
Yeah. Oh, and that is something that I also would like to bring up is the amount of time that I've recorded. The gameplay times that I've actually recorded. And so far, I have recorded I have logged. Sorry, not recorded. Logged is the correct word.
This is for every...
So this is all of the games that we have played for Zap Night. And these are all the times that I have recorded gameplay for, logged gameplay time for. So the total is 1,929 hours of... That's just gameplay that I've recorded. There's a few episodes that I don't have any I don't have any times recorded for, but that is the total for all the games that I've been able to get a log for. My time alone is 1,105 hours of just me and the games that I've played and logged times for. Kaylee, I have you at 458 hours, almost 59 hours.
It would have only been 8 hours total if I hadn't started Zap Nights.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And there's some here, like, I don't have my, like, when we played Link's Awakening, I only have my game time on there. I don't have Jinx's game time on there. Some of them, I do have Brandon's game time on here from Metal Gear Solid. I have, like, Lori's on here from some of the other games. I have some from Seth and Evan. I have a few of them from when we play games together. I call that team game.
Sure.
And so, like, our team game time is 205 hours.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's games that either me and you have played together or, like, me and Lori have played together. But that's, like, not just me or not just you or not just Lori. So if at any point we played a game together, it went under the team time. So yeah, that's a good total there. That's a lot of hours of gameplay for one small podcast.
Why'd you keep all of this information? It's cool seeing the stats.
Yeah, and that was just something that I had been doing before, even before the podcast, because I enjoy seeing how many hours I've put into games. I do record these game times in the website How Long to Beat. So if you wanted to look us up on there, I have all of our stuff public. I do need to update it, so there might be some lack of information in there. But yeah, I've been trying to convert some of these game times into How Long to Beat. So if you guys want to see any individual game times, you can check that out. I'm sure, I don't know exactly how it works, but I'm sure that you can just search our Zap Night username and you should be able to find it. It's either Zap Night or Zap Night Gaming. That's the only two that we ever use. Yeah. So let's kind of talk about the future, Kaylee.
The future.
Obviously Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX are kind of somewhat prioritized.
Yay, I'm so excited for Final Fantasy IX.
I really would like to start Final Fantasy VIII next. Like, after we're done with Diamond and Pearl, we're gonna start Final Fantasy VIII. I don't really know. Again, depending on how Animal Crossing shakes out and how long Diamond and Pearl take to beat, we'll probably start Final Fantasy VIII in October. That's a good time to, or sorry, not October, September. We're going to probably start Final Fantasy VIII in September with a tentative time of October 1st to review it. No, that doesn't sound right. November 1st to review it. So, we tend to give ourselves about 2 months. I guess it just depends on, how we are at that time. Most of the Final Fantasy games, the last week of our 2-month time that we allot us, we're really trying to push to get it finished. I'm really nervous about Final Fantasy VIII. I'm going to be straight honest.
I don't think it'll be that bad.
I'm so nervous for Final Fantasy VIII. But yeah, Final Fantasy IX then, we may start playing that in December.
My favorite time of year. It's gonna be a great Christmas.
It just depends. It just depends on how, Final Fantasy VIII finishes up and where those land and what happens between because after Final Fantasies, I tend to want to play something else, but I know that Final Fantasy IX, we want to get rolling right away. So yeah, I would like to try and have Final Fantasy IX started in December and reviewed in February, but we'll see. Again, that's we'll see. I think though, I want to have a bigger break between Final Fantasy IX and Final Fantasy X. So we may try and play a different RPG. Maybe we'll pick up Chrono Trigger. Maybe we'll pick up Valkyrie Profile. Maybe we'll pick up something else entirely. Kaylee's shaking her head no at Valkyrie Profile.
Worried about Valkyrie Profile.
I want to play it so much, and it's such an expensive game right now. It's going online for like $250. Like, this is an expensive game, and it's just sitting on my shelf collecting dust, and I want to play it. So, yeah. At some point, you probably have as much reservation for playing Valkyrie Profile as I have for Final Fantasy VIII. I'm so nervous to start Final Fantasy VIII.
Are you nervous because of the time?
No, I'm nervous because of the game. Like, I know that the story is okay. The story doesn't bother me at all. It's the gameplay and, like, it's got a weird leveling system.
Oh, you're worried about the junction system?
No. I know the junction system just fine. I know it just fine, but it's the, like, level thing. Because there's this tactic where you don't level up and you actually do better than if you do level up, and I don't understand it. And I don't know if I want to go into it with understanding it, like if I should look it up, or if I should just not look it up and just play it the way that I feel like the game intends me to play it.
I think it has to do with the junction system, though, because, like, the higher level magic you're equipping to your low level characters is the more you're buffing your... I don't know. I have not read into it. I've only played 8 a few times, but...
Yeah, same.
You know, I did play Final Fantasy VIII. Well, it's been several years now. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but maybe 8 years ago. I don't know. In any case, I played it, and I remember going into a boss fight that I remember as kids us having a terrible time, and I was very disappointed.
Oh, really?
Really disappointed. This game really is not that bad. I think
that could be.
I think you'll go into it worried, and then you'll be okay.
I know that my tactic for normal Final Fantasy games up to this point are pretty much the same. Like, level up as high as you possibly can right out of the gate, and then just stay leveled up, higher than what you're fighting, and you're fine. But I feel like Final Fantasy VIII, it doesn't work that way. So I'm curious to see how I'm gonna handle, the new system. I also know that the very end of the game, there's a huge boss rush.
Yeah.
And I'm really nervous about that too, because you fight like almost all the bosses at the very end of the game, and you don't get a save point, and you don't get any chance to cure yourself along the way too. So, like, from the beginning that you enter the boss rush to the final boss, which is also a boss rush boss, you don't have any chances to heal. So I'm really nervous.
You might. I think it depends on what you unlock. I don't know. We'll have to find out when we play. I guess.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it's been a long time since I played Final Fantasy VIII. I might have the exact day recorded somewhere. I'm not gonna look it up, but I mean, it's been a long time since I finished Final Fantasy VIII, and when I did, I cheated the crap out of it just because all I wanted was the story. Like, I just wanted to play the story, and I didn't care about gameplay, which is vastly different now that I'm doing a podcast for it and reviewing these. So, it's different. Things are different now. But in any case, we're gonna try and play some other games outside of just the Final Fantasy series for RPG. I would also really like to play Type 0 at some point, so maybe that would be a good game to toss in there.
Some Bee Simulator. Serious gaming.
Serious gaming, yeah. I'm also really nervous about Final Fantasy 11. Which is why I kind of want to stretch out between 9 and 10, because I have no idea what we're going to do for 11. I've never played 11. So, it makes me a little nervous. Just so many levels. Like, I don't want to... I wasn't very interested in the MMO side of things for Final Fantasy XI. I also am not super interested in paying a fee to play a game that I paid for. I don't think that that's a lot of fun. I also don't want to get addicted to an MMO.
To keep paying that same
legit,
bill.
I'm nervous on many levels, but obviously, I want to play it. I think we're gonna play Final Fantasy XI. We're not gonna skip it. It's just
figuring out what to do. Good talk.
I sneezed. So, yeah, Final Fantasy XI. I don't know that if we do Final Fantasy XI. I mean, obviously we're going to, but when we get there, it's probably not going to be until towards the end of next year.
Oh, that's a whole year away.
Yeah, I know. So we'll see. Shoot, that's a year and a half away.
Next year, that's tomorrow.
We probably won't play Final Fantasy X until maybe July or August next year.
Wow.
If not later. But, again, it goes back to when you're only playing one game a month, give or take.
Yeah.
Like, time flies.
Well, and the older we tend to get, the more time flies.
That's very true.
I am kind of actually excited to play 10.
10? Yeah, me too. It's been a while since I played 10, but I do enjoy the story of 10, and I like that it's all voice acting. So I don't have to sit and read, which I'm not very good at. If you've watched any of my streams, you'll know I'm not very good at reading. Not that I can't, I'm not super awesome at it. So, yeah, I guess, is there anything else you think we could talk about? All right, well, guys, thank you all so much for hanging out and listening to us banter. I'm not very good at words either, by the way.
Words are hard.
But thank you all for listening to us banter about the past 4 years of our Zap Night podcast channel. I really appreciate everybody who's been sharing stuff on Instagram, and the biggest thing you can do for our podcast is help us get the word out. And, I'm seeing the numbers rise. I'm seeing people who are listening. I'm not getting any feedback from anybody, but that doesn't mean much. Like, really, I would do this regardless of who's watching. But seriously, the more people who listen, the more it makes me feel good about what I'm doing. So, just spread the word, let people know that we're just here to have fun. If you guys would like to be on the podcast, I'd be open to, reviewing a game with you. So just send us an email. I mean, open invitation to some degree. Right now, for the most part, we have quite a few months logged and ready to go as far as what we're going to be playing. So, just work with me on your time frame, and I could probably get you on the show if you want to review a game with us. So that would be pretty cool. But otherwise, yeah, guys, thanks again for listening. And our next episode may or may not be Animal Crossing. It may or may not be Pokemon Go or Pokemon Diamond.
Pokemon Go.
It's definitely going to be one of those two. So, yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.